answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
From the moment he landed in Israel, the words "thank you" visible from Air Force One and billboards here expressing gratitude. President Trump basked in the praise of a country that credits him more than its own prime minister for today's long-awaited reunions. The president's name echoing through Israel's parliament as he touted his landmark diplomatic success.
This is the end of an age of terror and death. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Netanyahu praising his American ally.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
Going off script, the president called on his Israeli counterpart to pardon Netanyahu, who was indicted for allegedly accepting expensive gifts, which he denies.
Cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about it?
The president then heading to Egypt for a peace signing ceremony with Arab nations and other world leaders who back the deal.
That is the report from NBC yesterday on the success of Donald Trump getting the Arab nations to come together on a peace plan and basically ending the Hamas battle with Israel. But Hamas doesn't see it that way. You know they don't. Trump has done everything he can to bring peace to the region. And he's getting praises from all corners of the globe. Oh, you didn't know the globe was square, right? That's why we have corners. Should I rephrase that? It's champagne and cigars. What's the big deal? I love that. The trouble is we have many, even still on the left, even though some have acknowledged begrudgingly, okay, Trump did it. But Biden laid the groundwork. My butt he did. There's no way Biden had anything to do with this. If he really wanted credit, he should have followed up the Abraham Peace Accords when he came into office. He didn't do anything. This happened because of Donald Trump and his approach, dialogue, negotiation, putting pressure on, and making it clear that we can work together or not. Who wants to walk away from the table empty-handed? But at the same time, there's still clashes of the Hamas with armed family clan members in Gaza City. The fighting, the killing continues, but it does not involve Israeli troops, the IDF in any way. We're going to break it down for you. Welcome to hour number one. Larry Connors USA, October 14, 2025. And I want to take a moment to point out, this is Charlie Kirk's birthday. Charlie Kirk. Just want that to settle in for a moment. A man, all he was doing is trying to encourage speech, free speech. Everybody cries for he was using, but they say he was preaching hate. No. He was preaching from the Bible a couple of times. And if you hate what the Bible says about homosexuality or killing the unborn, well, then you might consider it that. But it's not. And with Larry Connors USA, you get news, analysis, opinion, and education. Before you are thinking about leaving this program, you got some information you do not want to miss coming your way. And when you do complete this program, you will have more knowledge than you do right now. We pump you full of information. Reminding you that when we're on the air, we are live streaming. How do you watch? Well, you go to NewsTalkSTL, Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. And Larry Connors USA, Rumble, or Facebook. And everything goes up as a podcast later at NewsTalkSTL, at LarryConnorsUSA.com, and Larry Connors USA Facebook. So if you have to break away for any reason, there's no reason you can't come back and pick up the rest of the program. And do me a favor, please. If you listen at a later time, push the share button. Send that to your family and friends and your enemies. Get them involved in this program. You are our multiplying factor, and I thank you. In our next hour, Democrats in Illinois saying, look at how much money has been hijacked from the taxpayers going into, quote, NGOs, non-government organization, but they're actually politically linked to you know which party. We'll expose that coming up in the next hour. Later this hour, Director of National Intel Tulsi Gabbard saying Obama is fully exposed at this point. Yep, we knew it was, and now Tulsi Gabbard says the evidence is there. All right, so let's go back to what's happening in Gaza City. It is not peaceful, unfortunately, because Hamas does not want peace. I'm looking at a report from the BBC that says there are at least 27 have been killed. And I imagine that's more based on the timing of this report and where we are now. Masked Hamas gunmen firing and shooting at various family members, armed members in Gaza City. A senior official in the Hamas-run Interior Ministry said, all of our security units have surrounded this clan, as they call it, and we're going to put them down. This fighting is, again, evidence of how difficult it is to achieve peace in the Middle East. And this expressly points out that Hamas was using all the Palestinians as human shields, which we knew. So there are a lot of family clans, militias throughout Gaza. They form their own little group to make sure they can protect each other. And now that the Israeli forces are withdrawn, to make sure Hamas does not get bigger, they're going to fight and rally and take them out inside Gaza. Now, with that in mind, the battling in the streets in Gaza, Palestine area, what about, is there any chance at some point there might be a proposal for a separate state for Palestine? Well, before you jump into that, the Israeli UN ambassador makes it very clear.
It's not on the table. You know, after October 7th, we saw what happened when you actually gave control to Hamas. So I think the Palestinians, they have to prove that they are changing their course of incitement, glorification of terror, payments to terrorists, and believe in coexistence. You know, we tried 20 years ago when we pulled out of Gaza. It failed. Let's hope that the future will look different.
Yeah, not going to do it. They had control. They turned it over to Hamas, and you see what happened. Again, back to that BBC report. Residents describe scenes of panic, dozens of families fleeing their homes under heavy gunfire, Hamas shooting at them. As one said, this time people were not fleeing Israeli attacks. They're running from their own people. And where are the shouts in the streets, free Palestine now? They may come back, but again, are you supporting the Palestinians or Hamas? See, now you have a clear dividing line, as if you couldn't see it earlier. There's no way you can support the Palestinians if they are, in fact, Hamas, which some are. All right, the Director of National Intel, Tulsi Gabbard, says there is more and more evidence coming out showing Obama's fingerprints, probably his boot print as well, on every effort to destroy Donald Trump.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. it wasn't.
Gabbard got her hands on a House intel report that's been locked away in a CIA vault for almost a decade. Investigators spent over 2,000 hours looking into how the Russia hoax was born, interviewing 20 CIA and FBI officials. And it turns out that the Obama administration doctored the intelligence to make it look like Putin and Trump stole the election. A month after Trump beat Hillary, Barack Obama wasn't satisfied with his intelligence reporting and ordered his CIA director to create a new assessment of how Russia interfered with the election. This was a highly unusual move. John Brennan handpicked 5 CIA analysts to write the assessment, and they were siloed. None of them knew what the other was doing, and only one analyst was in charge of drafting this report. There was nothing routine about this, and it was a rush job to publish before Trump was sworn in. Nothing was coordinated with the other intelligence agencies either. Basically, this was home cooking for Barack Obama.
Certainly was. It certainly was. As pointed out, as a Fox description of what Gabbard had found becomes more and more evident. And we've seen pieces of this from time to time. But now apparently they've gotten more details and more things they've come up with. Now, back in July of this year, Gabbard filed a criminal referral with the Justice Department against all of the Obama-era intel officers, including Obama, over the investigation. She says that Obama and his officials manufactured intel and, again, conspired to undermine the legitimacy of Trump's 2016 victory. We all suspected it, and it's all there. So now that report, as you heard again, 20 agents, 20 CIA and FBI agents confirming Obama personally worked with former CIA Director Brennan to create the fake Russian hoax. Well, I thought Obama said, what did he say?
The point is that we have blown through, just in the last 6 months, a whole range of not simply assumptions, but rules and laws and practices that were put in place to ensure that
he's having a problem.
Nobody's above the law.
No, they didn't.
And that we don't use the federal government to simply reward our friends and punish our enemies.
My God, the
same thing's obviously happening in the Justice Department.
He is struggling how to find the words that it doesn't splash back on me. He wants to smear and slander Trump and MAGA people, but he's got to choose carefully what he says. But then he finally uttered that phrase, "No one is above the law, except me." Oh, he didn't say that part out loud, did he? He's not the only Democrat, of course, who's been all in on supporting Democrats and destroying Trump. I understand that politics is politics. It's a blood sport. But while Obama was talking about the last few months with Trump in place, we've had all these rules and everything just wiped away. No, you have not. You have accountability and people being put in front of Congress and maybe in front of a judge before it's over with for what they did and were trying to do. And you, Obama, knew it, and you were part of it. I'm telling you, while he was trying to find those right words, he was really struggling. He just trying to find exactly, how do I say it? Let's give him one more chance. Let's try him again. See if he can bring us back on point.
The point is that we have blown through, just in the last 6 months, a whole range of not simply assumptions, but rules and laws and practices that were put in place to ensure that nobody's above the law.
Oh, thank you.
And that we don't use the federal government to simply reward our friends and punish our enemies.
You don't?
And the same thing's obviously happening in the Justice Department.
The man is walking through a minefield. He really is. Let me give you another example. Letitia James, now facing federal bank fraud charges, was making a statement back in 2022 as to how if I'm elected Attorney General, I'll go after Donald Trump. I'll get his scalp. No consideration about what the law says. You talk about blowing through what laws we have. There was a politician campaigning, you elect me and I'll take down Donald Trump. Let's go back to 2022.
And what would you say to people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person?
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. Get off your ass and vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
I love it.
You're going to be a real pain in the butt, and he's going to know you personally? You better watch out what you wish for, because right now, and we told you guys back then, you keep pushing this lawfare against Republicans, never mind if it's Trump or whatever, you continue down that road, what happens if suddenly Republicans have control? But here's the difference. Republicans in control now, they're not pushing lawfare, they're again pushing accountability. This is not retribution, it's not revenge, it's justice. Now that's a word that the left is completely lost. They do not know how to describe it, they don't know how to practice it, but they damn sure know how to walk away from it to take down any enemy in their way. And that would include you, my friend, simply because you're listening to the program. But you keep in there with us. This fight is long from over. They're going to continue everything they can. As I said, she is facing federal bank fraud charges. So with that in her face, and that's just one of charges, there may be many more yet to come. What is her best option? Well, Larry, I'm glad you asked that question. Her best option is go on the attack. Deny, and go on the attack. That's coming up. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
In all these years that Wellington Environmental has been my sponsor, I've never mentioned their duct cleaning services. Allergy season is here, and Wellington crews clean air ducts daily in homes and commercial buildings, also cleaning air handling units and diffusers in commercial facilities. Why? Well, because people will see black dirt and mold on the vents, or they are actually suffering from allergies. Don't be fooled by low-cost duct cleaning providers saying they charge only per vent, because once they get on site, the price will skyrocket. Wellington does not do this, never has. Wellington will give you an estimate, and you say Larry Connors, and immediately you get a 20% discount. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 314-644-4930. Make your home and business better, safer with Wellington. Be well with Wellington. Back pain? Follow me to Esquire Sports Medicine, where they've got your back. Esquire is the oldest sports medicine clinic in St. Louis. Dr. Draghi and his team of chiropractors can get you back to work, back to life without the pain. New patients usually scheduled within 24 hours. 314-644-0885. 644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com. Another day must be another roofer in town. John Beal and I were talking. He said, every time you turn around, there's a new roofing company. Many of them have no idea what they're doing, and the statistics show that many will be out of business within 2 to 5 years. Who are you going to call to help you then? You need to remember only one name, John Beal. John Beal Roofing. You have a problem, he can take care of it. And we'll be here for you. John Beal Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. The Oak Street Inn and Lounge has some great news. The Speakeasy will now be open on Sundays, starting at 2. Open to the public. Great for those in the industry who want to enjoy a Sunday fun day. Plus, enjoy sushi and cocktails. What more could you want? You want to make sure you get the code. And how do you get the code to the Speakeasy? You go to the Facebook, Oak Street Inn and Lounge Facebook. I'll see you at Oak Street Inn and Lounge in Cottleville.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity. And so I stand on solid rock. And I will not bow.
I will not.
I will not break.
I will not.
I will not bend.
I will not.
I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up. You come for me, you gotta come to all of us. All of us. Every single one of us. We're all in this together.
No. They don't want to be all in it together with you, Letitia. Those are her first remarks since she had endorsed Mondani. Yep, that's right. You got to keep that in mind. She has made these remarks, and at the same time, she is fighting for a guy that's going to destroy New York City and the state of New York. But that was her last night at a Mondani rally. I said the first appearance since she endorsed Mondani. It's her first appearance since her federal indictment. So she's got defiant, telling them, you're going to be with us. We're all going to be together. You watch how many slowly slip away because they don't want to be facing federal charges with her, nor should they. They didn't do anything wrong. Her passionate remarks at that rally for Mondani came just 4 days after a federal jury indicted her on charges of bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. And now that she's got that crowd of 3,000 plus geared up in that gathering she had at a Manhattan theater, she probably thinks, oh, I can get out in the street and do this all day long. We're going to do a flashback here in a moment as to what she said back in 2022 because she was already making it clear, I don't care about justice. I care about taking down Donald Trump. But now what she's trying to say, this is a political witch hunt against me. You come for me, you got to come for all of us. Well, let's take a closer look at this because the left is obviously looking to stand tall with her. The New Yorker magazine, the New Yorker publication. If you work for the New Yorker, you do know that, and I don't mean this against you if you're suffering this kind of defect. I mean, we don't make fun of people that have physical handicaps. But you do know, if you haven't looked down, you have two left hands. You do. The New Yorker has a piece out by Ruth Marcus collapse of impartial justice. The question raised by the prosecution, Letitia James, is, quote, would any other federal prosecutor have brought this case against any other defendant? The answer seems to be no. Oh, there we go. There we go. You've already exposed your cards, already making clear which side you're on. So she quickly gets into quoting Attorney General Pam Bondi on her Twitter account last week, saying one tier of justice for all Americans. This is after a federal grand jury in Virginia indicted the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, on bank fraud. Now, here's where they're going to have trouble trying to hold things together. The words as written by this columnist, and this is a column, I mean, it's her opinion. Be aware that it's not trying to say that these are facts, but it gives you the underbelly that they're so desperately trying to protect, and that is how biased they are. They're not interested in justice. They're only interested in going after Donald Trump. I get down on this article, and she was just saying in the part that no one would have filed this against Letitia James other than the Trump administration. Riddle me this. How many charges were filed against Trump that no one else would have bothered with, including what James tried to bring against him? And don't forget Jack Smith. You know, James had stated that she was going to make Trump aware of her, that he would really know her directly. And Obama has said, as we did earlier, I'm not going to bother repeating it for you. He said, no one is above the law. But each time they try to do that, flashback to 2022, when Letitia James is being asked by a reporter, what are you going to do about Donald Trump?
And what would you say to people who say, oh, I'm not going to bother to register to vote because my voice doesn't make a difference, or I'm just one person?
I say one name, Donald Trump. That should motivate you. Get off your ass and vote.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
Oh, he does know your name. He does know your name. We all do. It's in the federal indictment against you. The first of probably more. When she was in office, she did deliver on her campaign promise, saying, I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president. Those were her remarks. The judge who heard the case, the civil fraud lawsuit against Trump, his children, company accusing them of inflating the value of their properties to lenders and insurers to get more favorable terms. First of all, everybody who has a home mortgage, when you go to the lender, you're going to try to make it look better so you can get a better rate and more money, right? Business is the same way. That's not illegal unless you're lying about what you got, which Letitia James did, according to the indictment out of Virginia against her. But the judge who heard the case while James was going after Trump said the frauds found here leap off the page, shock the conscience. And he came up imposing a fine that grew to more than $500 million. Remember that? That all got pushed aside. But this New Yorker columnist writes, how can you say what I'm getting ready to read as if, okay, so what? This is kind of what you're hearing. Even if James misused her office to go after Trump, even if she clearly did, even if the acceptable reaction is not to repeat that offense. So says the columnist for the New Yorker. But she had to put in that little phrase there, even if she there is no if misusing her office. She clearly did. She had made it very clear. The New Yorker article just underscores how many out there on the left are still looking for a way to destroy Trump and protect their own. Keep in mind the indictment against her right now claims she did not use the property as her second home and said she claimed she rented the house to a family of 3, but no specifics. Also states that her application for homeowners insurance described the property as owner-occupied. Well, wait a minute. Are you living there or are you renting it? That's a simple question. And her federal tax forms treated it as rental real estate, but it's owner-occupied. No, can't be both. So she got a mortgage for a second home rather than for an investment, according to the indictment. And she got it at a lower rate and received a larger seller credit. They say this is a scheme and artifice to defraud lenders. This is the same kind of thing they're trying to claim that Trump was doing. You're entitled to overvaluate what you want to sell or what you have in your possession. If I want to sell you my car, you look it up in the Blue Book and it's going to say $15,000. My price is $30,000. You want my car, you're going to pay me $30,000. Well, Larry, you're kind of over. That's not right. Well, you want it or not? And I'll finance it for you through me. 25% interest. Now, do you want my car? The article of the New Yorker adds, even if prosecutors can show that James violated the terms, they will face the hurdle of proving that any deception was intentional. Really? It's unintentional to claim that I lived there. Oh, I'm renting it out. And claiming that her father was also her husband. Yeah, Trump knows your name as well as the rest of us. You talking about being a pain in the butt? You're going to find out. Coming up, how many different ways can the left deny what we all see? They claim there is no such thing as Antifa.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
Tom Shaw Realtors has been helping sell, buy, lease property all over Missouri for almost 100 years. Call him, 636-532-1922, or visit shawrealtors.com. You want the best place to watch baseball or any sport and be able to enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys? Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit has so many events each month, you need to constantly check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. You don't want to miss anything. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting. Listen up. The offer St. Louis can't stop talking about being held over by popular demand. Right now, Renewal by Anderson. Buy any window or door, get the next one 50% off. Plus, you might get 0 interest, no payments for 18 months. This is Renewal by Anderson, the full-service window and door replacement division of Anderson. That's a name you've trusted more than 122 years. Our exclusive FiberX frames, 200% stronger than vinyl. And remember, Anderson products increase your home's value by at least 15%. So make sure you take advantage of the offer while it's still being held over. Schedule your complimentary consultation at rbastl.com. 877-WINDOWS. 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson. This is award-winning quality, stronger windows, smarter investment. Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. It means you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is News Talk STL.
Got me waking, boss man, waking around the bar. I want a little ring of water that you want at Jimmy Star, big boss. Can't you hear me when I call?
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, sort of defined terrorist organizations with leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are. Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization, so maybe that's good for social media, but it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that, where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
But I know I've seen with my own eyes, you have as well, shirts and backpacks and garb, folks dressed all in black, mask and face coverings, and Antifa written on them. They didn't get the word, did they? Well, every one of those leftist leaders you were listening to, and I'm not even bothered going through the litany of them, you know, and many by voice. But they simply want to deny that it even exists. Trump has called it out as a terrorist organization. So what does the left have to do? Well, we need to say, well, the Proud Boys, that's really an organization. Antifa really isn't. It doesn't have any central leadership. I'm really not sure I believe that. I believe it's clandestine, but it is correct that they try to make themselves invisible until they rise up because they don't want to be destroyed. And that's what Trump is in the process of doing. So I guess the Molotov cocktails and the shots fired at ICE or police law officers anywhere coming from Antifa was a case of fiction. They just cannot accept what they've created. So they try to get out from under it. Let them try. Let them try. All right, well, we still have the government layoff now. And the Senate returned to Capitol Hill today to vote on the Republican proposal again. Blah, 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 blah. The White House Budget Office said we are prepared to ride out the shutdown by continuing layoffs. But again, troops and law enforcement will be paid. They want you to believe that we need this government to operate the way the leftists have been running it. We don't. And we're laying off people that we realize they're really not just essential. They're not even needed in anything. And the Democrats brought this on. Chuck Schumer. I want to imagine in the back rooms, deep, deep, deep within the bowels of an area that only Chucky Schumer knows, and a few other Democrats are trying to say, how do we get out of this? How do we get out of it? We thought he'd fold by now. We're 2 weeks into the shutdown. And the Trump administration says, we're starting layoffs, which they did, and we're going to continue. Now, I feel for federal employees and their families suffering during this time, even if they hate Trump. I don't want anybody not to be able to provide for their family and take care of them. And they're not responsible for the shutdown. It's the leadership. And to that point, the leadership continues to get their money. Yeah, they're going to be paid. But it's also been made clear that normally after a shutdown, the furloughed players or actors and employees, they do get money when they return, back pay. That might not happen this time. And all they want to do is blame it on Trump again. Oh, I got something. I need to share this. This is a bulletin. I am so sorry. I should have put this at the beginning of today's program. CNN announcing it will host a live town hall tomorrow with Senator Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. A live town hall dealing with the shutdown. CNN is inviting viewers, readers, followers, which are getting smaller, to send in their questions now. Maybe your question will be picked. My question is, why the hell don't the Democrats get out of the way and let's get back to the government running properly? And I'm sure Senator Bernie Sanders and AOC share my view. Oh, my God. I pulled one off on you, didn't I? I got that little bluff right past. No, you shut the door in my face. I got it. We have right now a government that is in disarray because the Democrat leadership, Chuck Schumer in particular, is extremely concerned that if he does not show that he's far enough to the left, the progressive left will abandon him and he will not win re-election. 45 years in Congress, up in smoke, because he stepped in something he shouldn't have. Now, speaking about things that some people say, he shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have done that. Let's go back to Trump addressing the Israeli Knesset. He made one remark which many loved, but not everyone. That story when we continue.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli Kirkwood.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon. By the way, that was not in the speech, as you probably know. But I happen to like this gentleman right over here, and it just seems to make so much sense. All right, enough controversy for the day, right? It's actually, I don't think it's very controversial. So, you know, I mean, I see so popular. You are a very popular man. You know why? Because you know how to win.
As you could hear, the majority of the Knesset was saying, Bibi Netanyahu, support for him. And Trump asking, Mr. President, can you just give him a pardon as your prime minister? He said, cigars and champagne, that's what he's charged with supposedly accepting as gratuities and briberies and kickbacks. That's all you got? Cigars and champagne? So he urged for a pardon during that address to the Knesset. There were a couple that got so upset, a couple of those Israelis that are members of the Knesset, but they are on, I won't say on Hamas side, but they don't really stand as firm as they should with Israel either. They're kind of like a Chuck Schumer in our midst. Jewish, but really not. So Trump went off script, as he said, and urged the Israeli President Herzog to pardon Netanyahu. He is facing trial on 3 corruption charges. And again, Trump said, cigars and champagne? Who the hell cares about this? Those are supposedly the illicit gifts mentioned in one of the charges. There's no doubt this is going to help deal with Bibi's support. But I have not seen all the specific charges against him. So I don't know if a pardon would be proper or not. I think in the light of what we have now in front of us, peace, I would think that you could find some grace in there. But political enemies, boy, when they get their talons into you, they do not let go. As you know, anti-socialist opposition leader in Venezuela, Maria Machado, won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. And she made a point to say Donald Trump has set the way, and he gets praise for this as well. The socialist dictator of Venezuela, Maduro, called her a demonic witch. That was a W. I hope you heard me right. Demonic witch, as in Halloween. You still don't get it? Okay. He says she's a demonic witch. And, of course, he's busy destroying his country, and you talk about taking away civil rights and everything else. And actually, he referred to her as La Señora. That is a Venezuelan urban legend from the mid-19th century, basically equating her not only with witchcraft, but vampires and all the other nasty things that hide under the bed at night. Oh, they were there when you were growing up, right? They're still there. You're just stepping over them every time. I tell you, if you're going to watch what's happening to Europe, as I've often encouraged you to do, you're going to find it's not getting better for the face of Europe, for the face of the various nations. Now, the key part here is how that in turn going to turn around and bite the U.S. and our relationships with some of these countries. A statistician found France has the largest ever single-year increase in foreign-born population. That was of 2024. The number of people living in France born abroad increased by 434,000, boosting the total foreign-born population of France to 7.7 million. Major French broadcaster states the number of people living in France born abroad, the largest one-year increase on record, as many as the previous 3 years combined. And 70% of those coming in are from Africa. Now, you can't say, oh, it must be a racial issue. No, France has been very welcoming about that. What you need to look at is what credentials do they bring, or what do they bring of value. And Macron has been all about opening up the borders and inviting more in. Germany had tried to do this same thing, and they're realizing how it can turn around on you. So totally, the foreign-born population of France represents just under 9% of all those living in France. The European Union average for foreign-born residents is 9.6%. That is boosted in part because of Germany's level of foreign occupation at 14.5%. When Chancellor Merkel said, all you people who want to come in our country, come on in. And you saw long lines of young men, no families coming, all these young men coming in. Are they coming to be part of Germany? No. Same thing with France. They're not coming to assimilate. They're coming to destroy what you have and take control of it. These nations have to recognize what's going on. Their populace recognizes it, but no one is shutting the door. Other than England. They said, we're not taking any more immigrants. Racist. No, they're looking to protect their country, like we're doing. Coming up in our next hour, some Illinois state lawmakers say we found where the money was hidden and who they took it from. And remember our pledge, one nation under God.
You can hear podcasts of this program at Larry Connors USA Facebook. Larry Connors USA Facebook.
John Beal Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call John Beal to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Beal has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Beal. You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40. 314-644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com. EsquireSportsMedicine.com. Great patio season to enjoy any of the Cafe Napoli locations. How about the Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield? Enjoying coal-fired pizza, nothing else like it. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. A few doors down, Lit Cigar Lounge, where you can enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys. Check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook for details, plus gift cards for friends. I'll see you at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield. It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as support dogs for our brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com. So many times, Vincent's Jewelers has helped me surprise someone special. Vincent's locally owned can do the same for you, and you don't have to break the bank to get something really nice, maybe even customized. The smile you're going to get back from that special someone, priceless. Check VincentsJewelers.com every day because new items are arriving and there are special deals. Vincent's, my only jeweler. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Larry Connors here. Is your home ready for the chilly months ahead? Renewal by Andersen has a buy one, get one 50% off window event. And if you qualify, 18 months, no payments, zero interest. Not sure if it's the right time? Renewal makes it easy. No obligation window inspection. Just find out what new windows might cost when you're ready. No pressure, no hassle. And remember, No one but Renewal by Andersen can offer Fibrex, the proprietary window frame material, 200% stronger than vinyl. Means durability, efficiency, beauty that lasts every season. What are you waiting for? Call 877-WINDOWS or visit rbastl.com and get your consultation. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
This is News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity. And so I stand on solid rock. And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up. You come for me, you gotta come to all of us. All of us. Every single one of us. We're all in this together.
Well, are we all in it together? I don't think so. That's Letitia James addressing a Mondami rally in a theater in New York with about 3,000 attending. And yes, she is more than willing to pull everyone else into the federal charges she's facing. But do you really want to get in the midst of that? And again, here's a woman who is Attorney General and ran on that campaign platform that she was going to nail Donald Trump. And she did go after him. In the meantime, long before Trump appeared, she had been taking out loans on various properties and lying on the reports, according to the fraud indictment. And that's just based on one house. Other parts of it are still under investigation. I would not expect that we're going to see many, very, very many at all, I would imagine, step forward and say, we understand and we will be with Letitia James. She said, but if you come after me, you're coming after all of us here. Which, by the way, Breonna Lyman has a piece in the Federalist today, pointing out that Democrats don't care that Mondami allegedly broke election laws because he's one of them. That's the way it is in that circus. If you're in our tent, oh, yeah, we can go with anything and everything. Well, I don't think we're going to find many that will stand inside that tent once everything starts tumbling down, and it's going to. Welcome to hour number 2, Larry Connors USA. Here we are, October 14, 2025. And make a note that today would be Charlie Kirk's birthday. And reminding you with Larry Connors USA, you do get news, analysis, opinion, and education. We make sure that every hour is filled with more information. So when you begin the program, start taking notes, because when we finish each hour, you're going to know more than you do right this moment. And in fact, later in this hour, we're going to deal with how TikTok is now apparently being used to push sexual stories, sexual predicaments, sexual excitement to minors, but at the same time banning Christian material for minors. These rats are everywhere. I'm telling you, you could burn down the entire barn, and they'd still be hiding in there somewhere. Now, I'll remind you that in case you want to watch the program, it's pretty fun. Come on in. How do you watch that? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can go to NewsTalkSTL Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter, or Larry Connors USA Rumble or Facebook. And everything goes up later as a podcast at NewsTalkSTL, LarryConnorsUSA.com, and Larry Connors USA Facebook. And reminding you, you have a cell phone, you've got us in your pocket wherever you want to go. You simply download our free app, NewsTalkSTL. Download it for free. And you can open up that app anywhere in the world, and you can hear the program that's on the air at that moment. For instance, say you, at this point, were in South France, the south of France, headed over to Monaco to make some big money at the casinos, right? You hope. Well, you could flip on Larry Connors USA right now by using our app. And, of course, you're going to do that with each program we have. And don't forget, you can always pull up the podcast of each program. The shutdown continues, and we're not seeing anybody really moving. Speaker Mike Johnson.
But we have to have government open and operating to do that. I cannot snap my fingers and go in a back room with Chuck Schumer and say, oh, here's the magic fix for it. It's not how it's going to work. The COVID-era Obamacare subsidy that they're all talking about is supposedly the issue of the day. It doesn't expire until the end of December. And by the way, it is the Democrats who created that subsidy who put the expiration date on it. They did it all on their own. Republicans weren't involved in that at all.
Yeah, weren't involved in it. The Democrats did that. But now they would have you think the Republicans are the ones shutting down the government. They've got some of their own members saying, this is not going well. We thought by now it would be over. You better think again. And, of course, the Office of Bureau of Management, I should say Budget and Management, they are already looking at cutting more jobs and maybe cutting out some agencies, realizing we're doing fine without them. Let's get rid of them. The midterms are coming. And normally something like this goes down. The Republicans are going to get the blame, and they're going to suffer at the midterms. But it doesn't seem to be playing out that way this time. I think the left has played the game too many times, and the public is fully awake and aware of what's happening. Now, Washington Congresswoman Yaya Paul still says, the fact is, pin the tail on the Republicans.
The reality is the American people get this. You know, I have federal workers who I've met with. I just had a roundtable with a bunch of them, and they are like, Congresswoman, stand strong, because these people want to take advantage of us. They're bullying us. They're threatening us. They're telling us they won't pay us even after the government reopens. And by the way, they already fired 150,000 people before the shutdown ever happened. So I really do think that people understand we are fighting for their lives. We are fighting for the health care of the American people, and we are fighting to reassert our power over what these Republicans are doing to destroy the lives of Americans everywhere.
Yep. That's what she says. I say, no, you are not going to lay it at their feet at the Republicans. You guys did it, and you're going to end up paying the price for it. But in her opinion, Republican lawmakers are destroying the lives of Americans everywhere. For just a moment, let's step away from the budget battle. How many American lives have been lost to drugs brought into this country because of Joe Biden's open borders? How many American lives have been lost because of crime by the gangs that have come in? How many American lives have been lost because of tragic DUI accidents or even stupidity from illegals that end up killing an American. And you want to say the lives of Americans everywhere are threatened by the Republicans? It is the same as always. They're going to just make up all the noise they can. We're not buying it. Didn't buy it previously. We're not going to buy it this time either. Now, I will point this out to you. If you're looking for an opportunity to find a way to save money, well, then maybe if you had a full investigation of where some of the dollars are going, which is what we all been calling for, right? And yeah, there's some, don't get me wrong, Republicans are also guilty of spending where they shouldn't. And they all have their little pet projects, the pork they want for their districts. I understand that. But a group of Illinois lawmakers got together, state representatives, and they said it is very clear to them tax dollars got funneled into politically connected groups.
I'm Representative Brad Halbrook of the 107th District of Shelbyville. Today, we're turning our attention to a staggering amount of taxpayer money, over $1 billion, that's being funneled into political connected non-government organizations, or NGOs. This wasn't uncovered by government watchdogs, but concerned Illinoisans and Republican legislators that our grassroots effort we call DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency. Before we show you where the money's going, we need to ask one simple question. Why is government funding NGOs at all?
Mm-hmm.
First, there's no transparency. NGOs aren't subject to the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA. Taxpayers can't see how their money is being spent. Just last week, a lawsuit was filed because the state refused to release a contract detailing how much public money was being sent to specific groups. Second, the budget language is vague and on purpose. These grants are buried under broad terms with little or no detail. Lawmakers are being asked to approve funding without knowing how the money will be used or even who's getting it. Third, the human services budget has been hijacked.
Mm-hmm. I was just getting ready to say, it sounds like it's all been hijacked. He beat me to the punch. Now, I've been preaching against NGOs ever since we opened up the border. Thank you, Joe Biden, again. And all this money was going down there. Now, there were some that were probably there that truly were altruistic and basically trying to make sure humanitarian needs were being met by the illegals coming across. We don't line them up against a wall and shoot them. And we don't take their kids and ship them off to some homes they've never been before and that's against their will and do things like that. The NGOs were supposedly handling that. But the problem is, they saw the dollar signs before they saw the kids. And they started raking in more and more money. And the Biden administration gave them not only the combination to the safe lock where all the bullion is stored, but just flat opened the door for them and said, come on in, grab what you can while you can. So I like it, the fact that the Illinois lawmakers saying we found more than $1 billion laundered to politically connected NGOs. By that means politically connected. Is that hard to understand? Of course it's not. And again, back to Illinois State Representative Halbrook.
It used to mean helping seniors, helping single mothers, and people with disabilities. Now it's packed with programs for politically aligned groups offering vague services like parent mentoring, immigrant support, LGBTQ advocacy, and many are race or identity-based initiatives that serve political agendas, not real need. Fourth, this spending undermines real charity. Faith-based groups and private charities are being pushed aside while politically connected NGOs scoop up taxpayer dollars. The government is picking winners and losers and rewarding those who keep the majority party in power.
Now, that at the time, he's referring to what the Democrats were doing. If the Republicans were doing the same thing the Democrats were doing at that point, I would call them out as well. I don't want my dollars, my tax dollars, going into a politically active group operating under an NGO status, non-government organization. And you don't get dollars from us, especially if you're actually an arm of a political party, regardless of which party. Oh, you hear me? Regardless of which party. You have to call balls and strikes on this stuff. But they want to just simply try to walk around the edges again and slowly pull more money out. The state representative is correct. The Human Services budget hijacked. Money that would have gone to helping seniors, single mothers, people with disabilities. Now, he said, it's packed with programs for politically aligned groups offering parent mentoring. What is that? You're a new parent, you don't know how to care for a child. Now, I understand that, because when my wife and I had our first child, we're leaving the hospital, and I turned to her and I asked her, I said, do you think they know we don't know anything about parenting? But of course, if I were, or we were in the process of adopting a child, we'd have to fill out all kinds of paperwork to know that we know what we're doing. In our case, as in many, we're learning on the job. It wasn't pretty sometimes. But these programs, parent mentoring, immigrant support, well, I clearly know where they're going with that. LGBTQ advocacy, yep. And many race or identity-based initiatives, all serving political agendas. We know what that is. You think we're getting up under the woke culture? I think we might be diminishing it, but I'm not sure we're actually free of their grasp. And I've got a story coming up later that would deal with that specifically regarding TikTok and how they're allowing that Chinese app to continue to push sexually explicit material to minors. But if you're trying to have Christian games played through TikTok, they shut it down. We already know that in China, they're doing everything they can to destroy any remnants of the Chinese religious faction that believes in Christ and Christianity, I should say. In fact, they're cracking down on Christians. They're jailing underground church pastors. Do not expect them at any point to stand up and say, we will protect you. They're not going to protect you. They're not going to protect your kids. I'll break that down for you in more detail as we go through this hour. But coming up next, a great piece from the Federalist on what Trump did that no one else apparently could do. You know what it is. And the left has to suffer through it. Well, we all praise Trump for doing it. Lock and load, ready on the right.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
I want to tell you more about Wellington Environmental's dustless blasting services. Wellington can blast paint, grease, graffiti, even stripes off parking lots. Truly amazing and powerful. But can Wellington blast something more sensitive? Yes, Wellington can use dry ice to blast soot and odors off smoke-damaged surfaces right after a fire. Currently, Wellington uses dry ice to clean mold off wood inside a home. Why? Well, dry ice immediately disappears, turns into a vapor. That means no mess to clean up, no damaged surfaces. You need to check with Wellington, always researching and practicing with new, better, faster, safer equipment and products for you. And it's very easy to schedule an estimator for your next project. Call Cindy, 314-644-4930, 644-4930. Be well with Wellington. McGuire Moving is Silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com. Another day must be another roofer in town. And John Beal and I were talking. He said, every time you turn around, there's a new roofing company. Many of them have no idea what they're doing, and the statistics show that many will be out of business within 2 to 5 years. Who are you going to call to help you then? You need to remember only one name, John Beal. John Beal Roofing. You have a problem, he can take care of it. And we'll be here for you. John Beal Roofing. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. I've got a great evening planned for you. We start with dining at the Oak Street Inn Lounge in Cottleville. We enjoy sunset on the rooftop, then down to the speakeasy. Just one visit, you're going to see why I'm always talking about the Oak Street Inn and Lounge. Plus, you might want to plan a staycation, a romantic getaway. Check out OakStreetInnandLounge.com for various events this summer. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville.
This is News Talk STL. This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Well, we had numerous reports from various organizations pointing out how great it was that Trump was able to step in and announce we have a peace deal for Israel. And many Arab nations, most Arab nations, have signed on to it. Here's how it was reported by NBC.
From the moment he landed in Israel, the words "thank you" visible from Air Force One and billboards here expressing gratitude. President Trump basked in the praise of a country that credits him more than its own prime minister for today's long-awaited reunions. The president's name echoing through Israel's parliament as he touted his landmark diplomatic success.
This is the end of the age of terror and death. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Netanyahu praising his American ally.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
Going off script, the president called on his Israeli counterpart to pardon Netanyahu, who was indicted for allegedly accepting expensive gifts, which he denies.
Cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about that?
The president then heading to Egypt for a peace signing ceremony with Arab nations and other world leaders who backed the deal.
That was, again, as reported by NBC the other day. And I kind of like the way he went after some of these charges against Netanyahu involve, quote, bribery involving champagne and cigars. What the hell is that? The charges go deeper than that. It's kind of a gloss over, but it makes a good point. And I think right now that President Herzog has probably got to be weighing, do we continue with these charges against Bibi while we're trying to really stabilize the peace now that we have a peace deal signed? If he's guilty of some crimes, it's up to the Israelis to move forward if they choose to do so. A lot of people didn't like the fact that Trump even brought it up, that he should have stayed out of it. Don't bring up encouraging a pardon for Benjamin Netanyahu. Don't do that. Well, he did. But the Federalist has a piece written by M.D. Kittle. You're going to love the headline. The man the left calls a Nazi just signed a peace deal protecting millions of Jews. Right on point. Exactly right. So Kittle adds that Monday was a day of rejoicing, of gratitude for families and friends of the 20 last living hostages freed after 2 years of hell. Father of one, after reunited with his hostage son, told the Times of Israel, "This is the day the Lord has made known to us, and we will rejoice in it." Be suddenly a real promise for that area. And everyone recognizing Trump is behind it. In fact, CNN, as pointed out by Kittle on The Federalist, no fan of Donald Trump, we all knew that, right? Forced to acknowledge that tens of thousands of those celebrating packing hostages square, applauding the peace broker as he spoke to the Knesset. Their chief international correspondent reported from the Tel Aviv public plaza, a rapturous applause for President Trump. His entire more than 1 hour-long speech broadcast on that jumbotron behind me, and when he finished speaking, I don't know if you were able to hear it at all. They started playing Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Now that I did not know. See, I even learned something as we go through each program that I didn't know. But it is true, as Netanyahu said, no American president has ever done more for Israel. But as Kittle points out, this is one of those things that the left is still going to try to figure out, how do we get around this now? Can we call him Hitler when Hitler carried out genocide against the Jews? And this peace deal does, in fact, protect millions of Jews. And if they can call him a Nazi or even a fascist, but he's protecting millions of Jews. Days before the election that brought Trump back into the White House, as pointed out in the Federalist article, NBC News ran a remarkably biased, as it's written here, and absurd story headlined, "Trump and his allies insist he's not a Nazi." Then, of course, the corporate media overblew the coverage of everything. And when he addressed a rally at Madison Square Garden, NBC was among those leading the charge at, several prominent Democrats comparing this event to a German-American Bonn Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in the past. Trump said later at a campaign rally in Atlanta, the newest line from Kamala in her campaign is that everyone who is not voting for her is a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi. Leftist leaders have not really stopped any of these claims. They're going to continue. But how strong is it when you look and see what the man has done for the state of Israel and Jews all around the world, basically? Trying to bring peace. One woman whose uncle was murdered by Hamas was reported as saying, as a niece of one of the hostages, I have a lot of love for President Trump. He's the only one that really sealed the deal. Still another embracing her husband for the first time since he was ripped away from his wife and 2 young daughters. She said, I had the faith that Trump would bring home the hostages. Unfortunately, the other part is the dead. Those who lost victims to the Hamas terrorist tactics are in the hands of the Hamas tunnels. They're acknowledging, the Red Cross even, acknowledging what I told you the other day. It will be a long time before all the bodies can be accounted for. They may not be able to find where they're buried, and they might be buried under massive rubble, but even beyond that, they might have basically been wiped from the face of the earth during some of the battling back between Hamas and the IDF. And why would that happen? Because Hamas, being the cowards they are, hiding behind Israelis and Jews and all the other hostages they took. And the families of those dead, they want their loved ones home so they can give them a proper resting place and have some closure. So for those who still want to call Trump Hitler, how are you going to explain that? Who else made this deal happen? Who else has brought peace to the Middle East in a way that we have not seen? Now, will it last? That's a question. I told you in the previous hour, and I'll repeat in case you missed it. I know sometimes you can't hear me all of each hour. That's why we had the podcast. But we have Hamas battling on the streets of Gaza, firing and shooting at citizens as they're trying to go after a militia formed by some of the families that have survived. It's still a battle for control of Gaza, basically. But they're shooting down their own people. Hamas is shooting down other Palestinians. We knew they had done that previously, would not let them escape to a safe zone because they wanted to use them as human shields. We knew that. But now it's exposed for the world to see. Nobody is dying in Gaza right now because of Israeli forces. Not one shot has been fired since they withdrew to the boundary lines that had been established. We also have to be aware that outside Gaza, jihadists operating under another name will continue to carry out what they can. In Lebanon, the leaders are asking for Trump, can you help us deal with the jihadists that are in our midst? No, there will be no real peace until all the jihadists won't get what they want, and that is dead. But unfortunately, they'll be looking to take innocent people with them. You're still going to need to continue praying. All right, TikTok, that Chinese app that now has been kind of restructured to meet Trump's desire, and good for us. The algorithm is still pushing against Christians.
You can connect with Larry on Twitter at Larry Connors USA.
We welcome Tom Shaw Realtors, selling, buying, leasing property all over Missouri, almost 100 years. Call Tom, 314-283-5064, shawrealtors.com. Hey, looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Anderson. Anderson products increase your home value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window, $729 off every patio or entry door, and ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service replacement division of Anderson. That's a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. Renewal by Anderson has FiberX frames, 20% stronger than vinyl, built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Anderson backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation, rbastl.com, or call 877-WINDOWS, 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson, superior products, exceptional service.
You've worked
worked hard for your money, so protect it. Meet my friend Bob Leslie and ask about the Gain and Retain Plan. Leslie Consulting, 40 years in the St. Louis area as a leader in brokerage and risk management. Call 314-721-0066, 721-0066. Oh, and ask Bob how he was the LA Dodger #1 pick. LeslieConsulting.com.
This is News Talk STL.
And it's bad, Leroy Brown, the baddest man in the whole damn town. Better than old King Kong, meaner than a jungle.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Well, we were talking earlier about how TikTok is still, well, it's not Chinese owned anymore. There's still a privacy issue and also an issue of political management, religious management, and targeting children, which is a key point to keep in mind here. As you know, President Trump had signed an executive order approving a deal to keep TikTok available in the U.S., but ByteDance had to divest or face a ban. Well, they've gone through that. But the algorithm is still the issue, that kids that are using TikTok, it makes no difference who's using it if they haven't changed the algorithm. According to the Wall Street Journal, this consortium of American companies to manage TikTok user data within the U.S. would allow ByteDance to copy the algorithm it uses to recommend content to users and then lease it to the new ownership. Now, a piece in The Federalist by Helen Raleigh pointing out that TikTok is pushing sexual content to minors, while at the same time banning anything that has anything to do with Christianity. They did a investigation, a group called Global Witness, a group based in the UK, and they were looking at TikTok practices now. So these researchers were posing as 13-year-olds who created 7 new accounts on TikTok, UK, the one they have there, using factory reset phones with no search history. They activated the app's restricted mode feature, which according to TikTok's own guidelines is meant to limit exposure to explicit content. And shockingly, as they write here, on 3 of the accounts, the algorithm suggested pornographic material immediately, even before any other searches were conducted. All 7 accounts soon encountered pornographic content with just a small number of clicks, ranging from women flashing to hardcore porn and more. So they're pointing out that even in a restricted mode, as they're doing UK and what we're trying to do here, the algorithm apparently continues to promote pornography to children as young as 13 and younger. TikTok says the minimum age requirement is 13, but they found in the UK exactly what I suspect is going on here. Children aged 5 to 11 have profiles on the platform and use the app frequently. They are dubbed TikTots, as in babies. Global Witness reported its findings to TikTok, and the company said, no, we took care of it. We took care of all that. Well, apparently they haven't. And in addition to that, in addition to pushing pornography to minors, they have an aggressive censorship of Christian content. This is according to the CEO of TruePlay. His company provides Bible-based mobile games for all ages, targeting users between 5 and 12. TruePlay, they say, aims to offer fun, safe, uplifting materials filled with God's teachings. TruePlay began advertising on TikTok in 2023. It seemed obvious because at the time, TikTok, one of the more popular, in fact, the most popular and influential social media platform globally. 2 billion users listed as of this last July. 2 billion. Since December 2023, TikTok, TruePlay reports biweekly rejections of its ads from TikTok. The platform claims that your ads, quote, may violate our policies by featuring or promoting sensitive religious content. Specifically, TikTok refers to its policy prohibits ads from displaying images of God, any God. And yet it would allow advertisements for other video games such as Diablo and Roblox, which promote violence, satanic imagery. Do you see a break in reality there? Yes. Well, back in March of this year, TikTok did suspend the account of TruePlay. They thought, well, we'll just get rid of you. We won't have to deal with you anymore. The question being raised in the Federalist article I've been referring to, how can Americans safely safeguard minors from the dangers of TikTok? They've had numerous investigations and fines, but it's unlikely the actual algorithm is going to be altered anytime soon. And they say allowing them to continue controlling that algorithm is like you buy a home and then you realize the previous owner still holds the key to the front door. How secure is your home? Not very. In summation, they add it falls on American parents to take proactive measures to protect their children. Avoid allowing minors to use the TikTok app on their devices. Inspire them maybe to participate in things like reading books. Yeah, books. Outdoor playing. You know, at our house when the girls were growing up, we had a set time. No more TV after, I think, 7 o'clock, something like that. There wasn't much on TV that they could watch anyway at that point. Except on Sunday when Disney was really, the world of Disney was a great program and not harmful to children. But I did tell my girls, you can't do that, no more TV, so you might as well turn out your lights unless you're reading a book. Oh, if we're reading a book, we can stay awake? Yes, you can. You can read all night long. You know, parents, what happened next. 15 minutes later, their eyes are closed, out for the night. Then you go in and turn off the lights as you remove the book gently from their hands. But y'all also point something out, especially for new parents. If your kids see you sitting around reading a book, reading a magazine, reading anything, they will begin to realize that reading is a good thing. Now, of course, the content is the issue. But kids have a greater interest in reading if they see their parents reading. But, of course, you're going to have to police what they're reading. And there's so many out there willing and waiting to prey upon your children. My kids were raised before cell phones were everywhere. In fact, I don't think they existed at all as they were in their teens. And it was tough enough then to try to keep content that you didn't want your kids to see. Watching a program you like. We would go to the theater sometimes when they have the PG-13 rating or something like that. And then ads would pop up for something that was obviously R-rated. Supposedly the movie industry said, we will not allow R-rated movies promoted during a PG-13 movie. Can't even show a preview of an R-rated. But they were doing it. Just hoping you weren't going to see them. The praise continues to fall around Donald Trump for what he did in brokering a peace in the Middle East. And even the Pakistani prime minister offered his praise.
Today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize because I genuinely feel that he is the most genuine and most wonderful candidate for Peace Prize because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people, their lives. And today, here in Sharm el-Sheikh, achieving peace in Gaza is saving millions of lives in the Middle East. Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership. And I think that you're the man this world needed most at this point in time.
Yeah. Now, if you had a little hard time following him in the beginning, he is speaking English. It's not obviously his first language. And how well do you speak? Well, he might be speaking in Pakistan. There are something like 70 regional languages. Urdu, I believe it's pronounced correctly. And in one area, this Sindhi. I may be off on the pronunciation because I don't speak those languages either. But he felt compelled to make sure you understood that even as a leader of Pakistan, he recognizes the value of what's happening in the Middle East and hoping that it will translate across the world. We would certainly hope so, wouldn't we? All right, well, our shutdown continues. Another day through. How many more to come? The government shutdown. Speaker Mike Johnson is now pushing a hard line, which has long been favored by the House Freedom Caucus. He has canceled some previously scheduled votes in the lower chamber, kept the House in extended recess, trying to put maximum pressure on Senate Democrats to accept the clean stopgap CR. The very one that would reopen the government, the very one that Chuck Schumer had endorsed back in March. So I like the way Johnson's going about this. And one of the things they did immediately was make sure our troops do not miss a paycheck. That's another shrewd move, long practiced by the Freedom Caucus. Pass a righteous bill in the House, then try to jam the Senate by leaving town. That's the way the Hill looks at it. Yeah, they would. You want to call it a shrewd move, it's just basically politics. Don't think the other side wouldn't try something like that if they could. And they have. But as the Hill states, this is all Johnson trying to pass a righteous bill in the House, saying we're doing the right thing, and then jam the Senate and get out of town. The Freedom Caucus hosted a press call with Johnson last week. And the House Freedom Caucus chair, Andy Harris, said, that call is history in the making, reflecting how far we've come as a movement from a small group of conservatives to a leading voice shaping the direction of policy in our country. Speaker Tim Jones, on in the afternoon with Christopher Harps, is a member of the Freedom Caucus leadership in Missouri. And there's talk about trying to make it bigger and bigger, not only in Missouri, but across the nation. The Hill wants to point out to you, though, I want to give you the other side of the story, has been much criticized this year, again, according to the Hill, as members repeatedly held up action on the mega bill of Trump's tax cut and spending priorities. But the group members agree the steep cuts in legislation were much larger than anyone predicted would be possible, due in part to stands the caucus made early in the process, and that its conservative influence on legislation is greater than ever. And they say that's a change other rank-and-file members are not happy with. Really? Well, then they maybe should get out of the way. We want Republicans, conservatives, to have the same philosophy as the House Freedom Caucus. But I have to tell you, there are those, including Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had been with the Freedom Caucus, saying, and we're not sure that we could continue to go down the road the Freedom Caucus wants us to take. I'm not sure that we can go down any other road to protect our nation and make it stronger, because the roads they lay out before you had twists and turns and detours. You're never going to get to the end. I want to praise the Freedom Caucus, Speaker Tim Jones, his leadership in Missouri, and all those others across the state and beyond the Missouri-Illinois borders and everywhere else. Keep pushing, guys. And remember our pledge: one nation under God.